Welcome to the return of New York State Music in Motion. I'm your host, rocker Frank Palangi, here as we have a sit-down chat with artists from all over New York State. This season, we are sponsored by the Helpin' Friendly Salve, an all-natural herbal extract. You can check them out at thehelpinfriendlysalve.com. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to New York State Music in Motion. Today, we got Lowell here from Lucid. He plays a couple instruments, I hear. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? What's going on, man? How you doing?
It's Lowell.
Lowell. Sorry, Lowell. Lowell. Lowell.
Lowell.
Lowell. What's up, man?
My French name.
There you go.
What's going on? How are you?
Pretty good. Surviving here during this time. Trying to.
Nice.
Now you're up in Plattsburgh, or have you always been from there?
Yeah. Born and raised, and then traveled around a lot. Obviously, mostly with music, but worked here and there. But really, just here. I like it up here.
What do you like about Plattsburgh?
Small. There's not a lot going on. Not a lot of crime. There's not a lot of. I like the location. I'm only an hour from Montreal. I can go up there for dinner. Burlington's right across the lake. I mean, New York City's not that far away. Albany's right there.
Yep.
Just kind of like, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's right on the Lake Champlain. I love the lake. Right at the foothills of the Adirondacks.
Do you go fishing too? You like that kind of stuff?
Yeah, fish and pull in the car at all times.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad loves that. I did it when I was a little younger, but it's nice. It's nice.
It's a meditation for me. I concentrate on the retrieve of the lure, and I don't think about anything else.
Yep, just throw it out there. Do you always hope you catch something, or are you like, yeah, whatever?
Yeah. That's funny. Somebody else asked that too. It's like, yeah, I hope I catch something, but it's any day that you can go out and just and I'm not really like an ice fisherman. Like sitting on the ice isn't my jam. But jumping from rock to rock, doing brook trout fishing, bass and pike, being able to like be outside, like any day that you can do that is a fine day.
Do you eat them too, or do you throw them back?
No, I'm catch and release, except for brook trout, of course. Plenty of those, but yeah, for the most part, I'm just catch and release. I'm just kind of there for the fun.
Yeah, some of them are good. Ooh, even the sunnies. People go, don't eat sunnies. They're sweet. They're good.
Pan fry, yeah. No, I mean, it all depends on, I guess, what you're fishing with. So the only thing I'm pretty much going to catch is bass or pike, unless I'm going for brook trout, really.
Yeah. So your other bandmates, are they all in Plattsburgh, or are they spread out?
Yeah, we're all here. Chris, our bass player, he moved away to play with another band in Ithaca for a while.
Yeah.
Matty Walsh in the Blind Spots, and then pandemic, and everything slowed down, and you got to make some sort of money, and so he came back, and but apart from that, yeah, everybody's been here. Our keyboard player Andrew has been here for, I guess, probably 12 years or so, but him and his wife moved up here, and they bought a house, and they've stayed, and yeah, we're all around the area.
So how many instruments do you play?
Me, well, I mean, I play hand percussion, so obviously there's, you can break that down into a million different things if you want, but I play harmonica, I sing, I play Zydeco rubboard, and hand percussion, congas, cowbells, timbales, stuff like that.
Because I know you guys have a big band. I think we did a gig on Hudson Falls, and I don't know if he had 9 people that day, maybe 7 or something. But I think at Red,
normally there's 6 of us.
Yeah.
My
had 9 on some of the videos.
Right. Yeah. I mean, sometimes we would have either, obviously sit-ins. There's times where we've had horns. My father, George, I mean, he might as well be in the band. He plays with us, especially now that we play so infrequently. He makes it to every show. He plays harmonica with us, so he can take my spot whenever he wants and play some harp.
Because you guys got you got sax, you got drums, you got percussion, you got guitar, bass, keys. I even seen somebody doing something else on one of the shows. I don't know if he was a guest. I noticed you guys had some guests too.
Yeah. Who knows? At a Lucid show, somebody could be doing any number of things at any point in time.
Could be the clap. I'm just gonna go up and clap.
Yeah, sure.
Claps. That's funny.
As long as you're on, man.
Yep. I play a mean shaker.
Perfect. Well, it's harder to do than people think sometimes.
It is, and depending on the shakers. Now you play percussion, right? So what type of shaker do you use? Like I do like the ones with the two, I don't know what you call them, with two ends. You know, you grab the middle and you go like this. I don't really like the plastic ones. I have one, but it, you know, feels fake, like, and the sound is not as real. You know what I mean?
Well, it's funny because I mean, it is kind of true. Like, you gotta, you know, you can buy like how many shakers are there in the world? 5 million of them, you know, and like, you really just gotta try. I mean, it depends on the song. Like, we'd be in the studio and I'd have a bunch of different stuff, and you know, some of them you'd want a basket shaker, you know, for more of a soft feel, and then some of the plastic ones, some of the LP ones are really good. They have different size beads.
Yep.
And they can get soft and loud, and you know, it's same thing. I mean, you don't know until you try to like record a song with freaking tambourine that you might have to try out like 3 or 4 tambourines to find the one with the right chimes on it. Like, you just don't think about that until, or I mean, unless you play it enough, it's like you kind of realize, you know, they don't all have the same sound, and it sounds funny to some people, but I've talked to so many other bands. I remember it was Spiritual Res guys. They were like,
oh yeah, we did a show too with them.
Yeah, they told me one day, they're like, dude, we're recording our album. It's like, we like went through like 6 tambourines before we found the one that we wanted. I was like, yeah, I know, it's like ridiculous. But yeah, you know, it's all the sound you want. You know, you just got to find it.
What kind of percussion do you use? Congas, and what brands and stuff do you like for those? Bongos?
I like LPs. The LP stuff, I mean, there's a massive amount of them. My first set was Giovanni's, which are made of like American ash. So it provides a different sound. Some of them are different size. Of course, there's different size congas. Traditionally 4 different sizes. I started playing 3, but I've scaled down to 2 as I've kind of, you know, realized what you need for different bands. I play in a Latin jazz band, so sometimes I play 3 congas, but kind of usually just play 2. And then I moved over to Matadors, which are also LPs, and I just really like the sound of those. And you know, and then of course, you know, there's natural heads versus synthetic heads. Synthetic heads are nice because they're essentially indestructible, but so are natural heads because you're using like cowhide, so they're thick.
Yeah,
I mean, you got a real
different sound, different feel.
Yeah, you got to do something to break one of those because those things don't normally break. You know, and it's all about tuning. I mean, I swear to God, I probably didn't really understand the process of tuning congas for I don't know how many years. It's like all these. Now I can do it by ear real quick, and depending on the song, you might have to change it up a little bit too.
Yeah. Do you ever where it's like, oh, it's starting to sound dead, let's just sell it, you know, and you get a new one, you think, okay, it's fixed.
No, I mean, you can go heads. And with the natural skins too, depending on the place you play, you can tune those up for sound check. And by the time you get 200-300 people through the door, like just the humidity and the heat
just not there.
And you got to tune it up before you play. I mean, it becomes almost, I mean, I don't want to say obsessive in a good way, but it's like you'll see me, you know, when I have a second in between songs, running around and just tuning both those drums up because you really got to stay on top of them. Otherwise, you know, you won't be able to hear them. You won't get the sound that you're looking for.
Yeah, they go flat, kind of easy.
Yeah,
sort of.
I mean, it's a natural skin. So it's gonna respond to moisture content, direct sun if you're outside and you're
Yeah.
playing.
Oh, that's horrible. Even for acoustic guitars.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, same thing. I mean, you look at saxophone. We played in, horns when you got to play outside in the cold for something, and it's just like, good luck, bro. It's like my hands are gonna hurt because it's like we played at the World Cup snowboarding championships at Whiteface a couple times, where quite literally we were on a stage, and it was close to zero out. They had some heat kind of coming through the stage, but I mean, we're essentially up there. It's like wintertime, dude. We're playing, and the saxophone's screeching, and everybody's hands are just on fire. Even keyboard players, you're playing. You're not wearing gloves, and you're outside playing a set. We played in some wild situations over the years.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've heard of some of them, some stories.
Yeah. Oh boy,
you started 2005, right? That's what I read in the bio.
Did we?
Supposedly.
Sure.
Supposedly.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know. It feels like an eternity ago. Yeah, I think so. So I'm thinking, 2005 sounds right.
How many records do you guys do?
We got 5 studio. We got 1 live. 5 studio and 1 live. The live one is like a. We made 1 live album. I think we made 1,000 copies, and we handed it out for free at our festival, Backwoods Pond Fest. So
yeah,
it's really funny because every once in a while someone will be like, "Oh, you got any more?" Or, I got one of those, and it's like this. It's a rarity for somebody to have one of those. So I mean, we did it, but it wasn't widely distributed or anything because it was just kind of like if you were there, you got one, and
kind of like the special experience where if you want this, you got to come to the show before it runs out.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be cool. Do you there's not any record stores anymore, but you guys ship them out to maybe different ones in the area, the few that we have, or around the States?
Yeah, you're right. There are not a lot of record stores. It's a sad thing. I mean, I prefer CD still to this day.
Yeah, me too.
I also prefer, because the sound quality, and I also prefer to listen to an album from start to finish. Especially after recording, and being a part of, and playing on other people's albums, but especially doing our own, because we dumped a lot of money into our first album. We had a friend of ours, Ben, do our second album, and then we recorded the next 2 and had somebody else record the 5th. And the process of recording our own albums, with help from friends, mastering and whatnot, stuff like that. But, really kind of brings to light, obviously we knew how much work went into it, but when, one of us had to be sitting there and mixing it up, bless her heart, our saxophone player, Jamie Armstrong, he mixed, the majority of a couple of our albums. Andrew Deller, our keyboard player, helped with that a little bit. But Jamie, I mean, that kid was, he's up just all night, mixing stuff, and you stop over, bring him some beers, bring him some food, and he just kind of kept going. But, when I tell that to people all the time in this world of Spotify and, other online streaming sites, you can listen to albums, but so many people are like, "Oh, I like this song," and it's like the age of immediate gratification to begin with.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, I ask people, when's the last time you sat down and you listened to an entire album from start to finish? Because chances are, that artist made it that way for a certain reason. Figuring out the songs,
the order.
what order they're on, or just the songs that are on that album. When you listen to our albums, what's also interesting is I think we had the rotating cast of characters for us was only drummers.
Okay.
Everybody, well, that's not true. In the beginning, we had Nick. Our friend Nick was our bass player early on. He was on our first album, and then from that point on, we had the same bass player, and it was always the same keyboards. Me, Jamie on the sax, and Kevin, he wrote most of the songs and sings, and he plays guitar. And it was always kind of us. But it's interesting because you listen to the albums. In our first album, we had our drummer Rippy, and then on the second album, and then for the third and fourth album, we had and fifth album, we had different drummers, and they all have very different styles of playing, of course.
That changed the music
Of
at all?
course it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like our buddy Kyle, who played drums with us for a while, Home is Where We Want to Grow was the album that he played on. And the songs that we picked and the style in which he played really complemented, what we were doing. He's a great drummer. They're all great drummers. So they all
Yeah.
had, definitely certain styles. And now Rippy, our original drummer, is playing with us again. But the way they found him was, we say he's like a reformed punk drummer. And I'll tell you, you can hear it sometimes with other people where you kind of know, like the Mallet brothers out of Maine, like their drummer, he's the same way. He's like a reformed punk drummer, and he's able to play these different styles. But there's something about those dudes. They're like a freaking rock. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're solid.
And Rippy is like that. He's an absolute beast. And the music that we put out with him versus the music that we maybe put out with some of our other drummers, who we're obviously still really great friends with, Christopher English, Kyle, like I had mentioned earlier, and Josh West on the last album. They all play a little bit differently. They all play the songs that other drummers may have recorded differently. But again, to go back to what I was saying, when you're laying out that song, you're making a story. That's the way I think of it. And I'm sure not all artists do that, but the way we kind of did it was, these are the songs that we want on this album.
Mm-hmm.
Because the style of music we play, most people hate when somebody's like, okay, well, what's your sound like, or what have you. And
what's the song I should listen to on here?
Right,
That's what I hear the most. I go, why don't you just listen to it?
What genre are you? And I'm like, the thing that people like about us the most, and I've heard criticism about it the same way, is that we're so multi-genre that we play, like when somebody doesn't know us, they're like, what kind of music? And I'm like, I like, it depends on how in depth I want to get. I'm like, rock and roll, and then I'm like, then I might be like, rock and roll, a little bit of blues, a little honky tonk with reggae drops. They're like, what? Like, you like a jam band? I'm like, no, we constantly get thrown into the jam band scene. But when I'm doing a set list, I average the songs out at about 6 minutes a piece. Some of the, if we do like a medley or something, it could be longer. I mean, last year we did a Doors medley that ended up being like a half an hour long. But I mean, for the most part, yeah, it's great. It's a lot of fun. It's not something you do all the time, but like it's kind of like, our instrumentation lends to that, and we do jam, and every show is different. Some are very clean and concise. It depends on how much time you have to play with.
Yep. What kinds of shows besides like festivals and stuff do you play? I know you played small clubs and stuff like that, but anything like out of the ordinary, or?
Well, I mean, it was, it's like with any band, we're still playing, and essentially it was what, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago now, where we made the decision to stop touring full time. So like for 12 or 13 years we were on the road, and that's what everybody put their concentration on. Like nobody was looking for other jobs. Everybody had to figure out how to make more money. In the beginning we played just locally, right? Because who's going to have you? And we crushed locally and built a following, and then you slowly kind of spread out from there, until you're playing bigger festivals, small festivals, bigger festivals. We've played outlaw biker shows, like for literally 1% bikers. Those were
why'd you stop touring, or what's that decision? More steady work, kind of, you were searching for, or steady lifestyle?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was a mix of things. I remember the day very, very vividly. We were in North Carolina or South Carolina. I guess I don't remember it that vividly. It was one of the Carolinas, 100%. And we were at Jamie's sister's house. We had a couple days to play with, and we just got in the conversation and decided that, we put forth a lot of effort and we put everything into it. And, it was just time to, move on and try something else. And that was all there was to it. And,
Yeah.
and then, but, then of course, and it was so funny, we announced it. Of course, people are incredibly sad. And we have a very strong, like, the people that love us really love us, and we love them very much. But it was kind of like we announced it, people got really upset. And then I remember one person specifically, he was in a band called Hot Day at the Zoo. They're out of Boston. They're really good friends of ours. I'm still really good friends with all of them. And John Cummings was in that. And he was like, I call bull. He's like, you guys are going to be back together, 4 months or 5 months or something like that. And it was just hilarious because, I mean, we had Backwoods Pond Fest, was a local festival here. It was me and a couple other partners that threw it, but we kind of made it Lucid's festival. Like, we were the only band to play 2 nights. And we had the last one that year. So we announced,
Oh,
in
okay.
winter, and it was like, we were going to maybe not do it. And my partners were like, dude, you have to do it. And I'm like, well, so yeah, we did it. So it was like, we played our last show at the Strand Theater here in Plattsburgh, which is a beautiful theater. Packed the joint, sold it out. That was in April, like I said, 3 or 4 years ago now. And then we ended up playing, in August at Backwoods Pond Fest, because it wouldn't have been the same.
Yeah.
Certainly wouldn't have been the same.
Yeah.
And since then, we do a few shows a year. 2020 would have been the most amount of shows that we would have played had 2020 not been what it was.
Yeah.
Actually, I think we would have done 4 or 5 shows that year.
You get more opportunities to play with other acts, though, too, now, probably, right? Because you're not touring as much. You have other projects.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Some of us more than others. Like I said, Chris, started playing with Maddie. She's amazing. That band's amazing. Jamie, our saxophone player, he's an amazing chef, and he really jumped into that. And now he's,
cool.
he's doing that full time, and he's really, really great at it, and he loves it, and he plays minimally. So when we play these shows, 3 or 4 times a year, they become special for us. They become special for everybody.
It's almost like a reunion. It's like a family party, get together, something. You know what I mean? It's not like,
100%.
we got to get together and practice every week. Now it's like, I could see where it's more laid back, and it's kind of like, less pressure or something too. That sort of thing.
Yeah, well, it's less pressure and more pressure all at the same time. When you're playing constantly, we didn't practice a lot for many years because we were playing all the time. Or if we had enough time, depending on the venue, we would, if we had time to jam and work some things out. I mean, I don't know how many of our songs we kind of worked out on the road and then on our heads and then kind of back on the road. And now we have to practice, right?
Yeah.
If we're doing, sometimes it's
keep those chaps up, man.
Exactly. So we got to get together. We got to do it. It's part of the thing. So it's a little bit more effort, but at the same time, it's interesting because people see these shows. I almost feel like every show we play is better than the last, and they've all been great since we've kind of moved to this platform. And again, I think a huge reason for that, and I've talked about this with other people, is when you make the thing that you love the most in the world your job, you're blessed to do so. But at the same time, sometimes you just don't want to go to work. Sometimes you feel like crap, whether you're mentally, physically.
Yeah.
And I think for me, at least, I don't pretend to speak for anyone else, that can really mess with your mind, because you love what you do. And, you have to keep yourself in check to be like, I'm really lucky to be doing this. So many people want to do this, but, so now we're so stoked. Everybody's stoked. Everybody needs to be at the shows. The shows are always sold out because people want to be there. They can't catch us next weekend. They can't catch us a
Yeah.
month from.
Yeah.
They don't know when the next show is going to be. So they want to be there, and we want to be there more than we've ever wanted to be there before.
I think it's hard to keep up that, you know, creative to mentality. Like you said, it's hard to keep up that energy 100% of the time, even though it's like, okay, it's just my job 100% of the time to deliver this to people, say 4 days a week, 3 days a week, whatever it is. But you're not always, it's almost a little bit like acting. Like sometimes you have to, what, like you said, you might be tired or something like that, but no matter what mood you are in, you have to bring it to the table, sort of, you know what I mean? It's hard.
Yes,
as artists.
100%. And there's a fine line, you know, again, you can get inside your head about that, you know, like jump, monkey, jump kind of thing. And it's like, you know, and depending on your mentality, you know, you could be like, well, this is what I gotta do, this, you know, and then there's people that are like, I don't want to be a monkey.
Yeah.
You know, and they buck the system and they fight it. And I agree with you though. If this is what you signed up for, you know, you don't have to go out there and put on a fake smile necessarily, but to a certain extent, you know, you're there. And furthermore, people are paying good money to come watch you play. You know, don't get on stage and be a giant pile of crap.
Yeah.
You know, like,
don't be like,
try,
you know,
you gotta try again.
playing in my basement, you know, whatever.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Or I mean, how many stories have you heard of, you know, huge artists or bigger artists or artists that are getting paid just a lot of money who abuse the system? And or it doesn't happen all the time, of course, but every musician or everybody knows somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it happen. I forgot who it was. It was some dude, some hip hop guy who I never heard of, but people were just, you know, and he like showed up like an hour and a half late, went on stage for 15 minutes, and he's like, I'm out, like, you know, give me my money. And I've heard, you know, I've seen that at, you know, festivals.
Axl Rose? That's what I've heard from him.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You know, everybody knows, you know, at some point in time. And at the same time, as a musician, you're kind of like, you know, well, you kind of get it, but you know, you don't, because like,
I remember. I'm not gonna name a name, but I remember I opened up for somebody. They were huge at one time, and then they were still big, but not as like MTV big. You know, remember the MTV days? Right. Everybody's huge. Yeah. He came from that era. So I opened up for a show, and I was sitting, you know, backstage because there's only one room with him, and I had already opened, and it was he was gonna go on certain time, and he's sitting there and lounging. It's almost like he's in his living room, and I'm like, they're screaming his name, and I don't know if he was kind of the same thing where he was due on stage like 5-10 minutes before, but he was just kind of sitting there and smoking or something, and I'm like, dude, they're out there. I go, what is it like? I go, they're screaming your name. I go, it's a sold out show and yada yada. And he was just kind of like, almost like he takes it for granted, but I don't know. I don't know the reaction.
Yeah, he does. He takes it for granted, and I've seen that a lot. And I've really tried to keep myself, and I think the whole band has kind of done that. And of course, we weren't at that, you know, whatever, you know, MTV huge or all that, but you know, I think there's something, as any musician, no matter what level you're at, I think there's certain things that every musician can kind of relate to if you play out in a club. Somebody that plays literally locally at a coffee shop and somebody that plays massive arenas, when you get on stage and you play an instrument, sometimes, and all it can take is a couple times for people to look at you in a positive light or differently because of what you do. You're on stage, and that's exciting to them, you know, be it a girl or a boy or somebody that likes you for a certain reason, stuff like that. And, you know, that's bound to happen more than once, you know, or somebody sees you and, you know, they're just like super excited because they saw you play, and that can really easily, like I said, really, any level that can happen.
You put on the performance, they really liked it, energetic, and you meet them and you don't bother to shake their hand or kind of say like, oh, thanks, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
You know,
there's no doubt about it. Like I've seen it, and it's funny because, you know, I know that people have said somebody said to me, man, I thought you were an asshole, like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, when did you catch me? Was it because when we were doing bar shows and we were doing like 4-hour sets, we only took one break and it was for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So, I got a lot to do in 15 minutes. You know what I mean? I definitely got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
rehydrate.
Yeah. By the time, yeah, exactly. By the time you pound like 2 glasses of water and get some beers, it's time to play again. Like, that's not the time to approach somebody to say hello. That's all I'm saying. And, and then you finish a set, or you've been on stage for an hour and a half or 2 hours, or like I said, in the early days, those long bar shows, and it's like, you never know. And
you got to pack up, and you got a certain amount of time to do this and this and this. And sometimes you're just tired, or it makes you in a crappy mood, and you're like just doing the chords and stuff, trying to get out of there.
Or you don't have the time. I mean, there's times where we had to pack up, especially on tour at, you're done a show, you're packed up 3 o'clock in the morning, and we're driving to the next place.
Yeah.
Like, we would love to hang out. And of course we're always, you're always going to talk, but like I said, it's interesting. It's the perception of what people see and, kind of what the reality really is of what's going on.
They just like to have artists hang out with people and chat, and they think it's fun. And, it's a cool, I've been through it. But I understand too. They say, "Oh, I don't have time, man. I have to go and do this." You're bummed, but
explain it. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. And that's the thing, is just be like, and some people it's too hard for them to do, and it's too awkward. And it's just kind of like, hey, man, I'd really like to chat, but we have like a 7-hour drive right now. Like, we have to go, and I hope to be here again soon. And then there's times where, we're there for the night, and somebody's having a party. And then we go over to that party and we get to hang out with everybody, and we get to play music with a bunch of other people. And, that's a ton of fun. And so, we'd never be against doing something like that. There are definitely artists that get to a certain level, and, maybe they that's something that they're not into. And like you said, the dude chilling on the couch, like, I don't care. Like, let him scream my name. Like, that's like a total ego power, kind of move. How great must that feel? I mean, there's been times where we've been on stage where people are yelling because they're so excited, for an encore or whatever, where the sound was literally, I remember the first time it happened. It was, I don't know where, I think it was probably at the water hole in Saranac Lake. It's not a huge room, but you can pack them in there, a few hundred people, and everybody screaming at the same time. It was absolutely deafening. Like, my eardrums were hurting. I was like, this is crazy.
So loud.
These people are screaming, and they're not screaming my name, and they're not necessarily screaming the band's name. They just wanted another song.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're really getting another song. You know what I mean?
You got to do it.
You got to do it.
Like, dude, we don't have anything rehearsed. Just we're going to do it. We're going to do it.
Yeah, we always, that was the thing with us. We always had something we could play. We had so many freaking
I've heard
songs.
some bands, they play a song, like the first song in their set, they'll play it as an encore because some people aren't there for the first song and they don't know. They have no idea. You know what I mean? That sort of thing.
Yeah, it depends on the venue and the setting of the show, I suppose. I know that we've never done that. I mean, maybe, we've done some.
Well, if you're playing like 3 hours or something,
Right. Or we played like somebody's birthday party or something in the early days, and we play a song over and over. I forgot, my bass player was just telling me about a song. I forgot where it was. He was talking about it, and I was dying. But we played that Steely Dan song, Peg, and for whatever reason, we played it like I don't like how many times in a row, which is hilarious to me because that sounds like my own personal hell. But we just like, I don't know what, but yeah, no. I mean, some people do. And then some people, it's interesting because, I play in a band with my sister, and my bass player plays in that band, and our friend Shannon plays violin. And it's kind of, it's totally different than what I'm used to. It's, well, not that I'm used to, but like what people perceive. Like, Lucid fans come out to a DoomF show, and they're like, well, this is interesting. It's all improv. It's, my sister plays the stand-up bass, and she's the lead. There's no guitar player unless we have a guitar player present, and it's kind of doomy, Tom Waitsy, metal-ish. And you play with these metal bands, like a lot of these metal bands, some of them, like their sets are literally 15-20 minutes. Like, these metal shows where You know,
Yeah,
you
they're
got
quick.
5 or 6 bands. They're quick, and some of them, depending on where they are in their career, like they don't have more. Like
Yeah,
15,
yeah.
20 minutes, an hour set. Like we
Four
played with
song
bands.
EP. They try to stretch it out to 20 minutes or something.
Totally,
Yeah.
exactly. And Lucid, same thing. You know, we got a band that's like opening for us, whatever. I forgot where it was. I could like literally see my guitar player's face and how appalled he was. It was like, you can't play another song. Like you just played a half an hour and like that's all the songs you got. Like, what are you doing on the road? That's just the way I think about it. It's kind of like, unless you know you got hired to be an opening act for a specific band, and you know that's the thing, because you've seen those bands, like the bigger bands, every show is kind of the same. That's like I said, that sounds like my own personal hell.
Yeah. Yep.
Even when we were on the road, just to keep it interesting for us, we never played the same set twice.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
You want to try to mix it up.
right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Even I find that where almost every show that I played like that, even if I'm playing the same songs, I will mix the order up.
Of course.
So
Yeah,
that makes it feel fresh.
Yeah, of course. I mean, or you work on transitions from one
Yeah.
song to another
Yeah.
song
Throw
to
something different in.
make it different. You know, tie them together. You know, stuff like that. And you're always kind of coming up with new stuff. Like I just came up the other day with some of our songs we've been playing for. You know, I mean, geez, we're close to 20 years. But you know, like some interesting like interludes, and you know, you try to keep it fresh, but it's as much for the fans as it is, at least, I mean, again, I don't try to speak for anyone else, but it's as much for the fans as it is for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know, we've done this a million times and we want to make it fun for everybody, including us, you know, because that shines through. You see when an artist is having fun and when they're not. It seems obvious to me.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I try not to judge, because who knows what, you know, it's like that with any personal interaction, whether it's a face-to-face during the day, you know, you don't know what that person went through that day. They could have
been a bad day, sick, tired.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
It's
literally
the ones that are like that all the time. You end up figuring it out. You know, I met the dude 5 times and he's like that every time.
Yeah.
So,
it's like, what's going on in that dude's life?
Either he's having a bad 3 years or whatever it is. Who knows?
But you know, I mean, you know, mental. But then again, you know, on the serious side of that, you know, mental illness is no joke, and it's at an all-time rise these days with anxiety and depression for many different reasons, and for good reason, I think. So it's hard, and you know that plagues a lot of musicians, as I'm sure you know. It plagues a lot of people, but
yeah,
you see it in a lot of musicians. Sometimes that brings about some of the most amazing art that you've ever seen, but it doesn't mean that some of those people aren't absolutely tormented.
Yeah, it comes at a cost. That's the when I watch like the Jim Morrison stuff, Jimi Hendrix, you know, a lot of the documentaries and things, some of those guys, that's what they, you know, but that's how the music came out. If they were all sober, didn't do drugs and didn't have their life, you know, if their lives are perfect, you probably say that the Doors, they suck, you know, or whatever. Yeah. But it kind of makes, it's sad to say that it kind of made it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it also depends on where they wrote it and when they wrote it and how they wrote it. You know, it's I look at like
so many different things.
Yeah, Stevie Ray Vaughan, for instance, like my parents are big Stevie Ray fans, so I listened to him a lot growing up. And you can watch, like, there's like a thing of his Austin City Limits, and you can tell when he's using, you know, I mean, he is like just drenched in sweat.
Yeah.
He's hammered. He's absolutely tearing it up. And then there's like this point where he had like just become sober, and he's still crushing it because he's amazing. But it's like a little different, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, and then you're like, but then the thing is, I think there's just a point, there's, you know, a point where you just have to like kind of get used to being sober. And I think that's the same for anybody who gets sober, in no matter what they do in their life. It's a new thing, because you're not used to doing life sober. And as a musician, it's kind of it's the same thing.
And they end up sounding better a lot of times.
Right. But a lot of times it takes time.
It does.
You know, it's kind of like, you look at, you know, a perfect example, like kind of locally for us, you know, Trey from Fish. It was kind of like, you could watch him and it was like, you know, what he's using his crush. And then there's this transition period where you were like a little like, you didn't want to say it, but you're like, oh man, like
Yeah.
we're really happy that he's sober. You know, we're really excited and we feel really great for him. And there's like something in the back of your mind is like, dude, I hope, you know, and of course, no, he's amazing, you know, but again,
Yeah.
it's just trying to do anything sober after you've lived in whatever your drug may be for that long. You know, because I've seen it, like I said, with a lot of friends who have a lot of, you know, different problems. It's great. That's what they need to do. Not everybody can drink a beer and just have one beer.
No.
You know,
Yeah. Some
need
people
to
set
drink
them right
30
off.
beers. Right.
Yeah. I've
and
had
those
fans
people-
where they go, we can't go to a bar if you play at a non-bar place where they don't serve alcohol. And I'm like, well, that's going to be like probably never.
Right.
But every I don't care if it's a backyard barbecue, somebody always brings beer or something, you know.
Yeah, well,
So
I
it's
mean, we always really enjoyed trying to do that. And as we got older and our fans started having kids, we really made an effort to try to play shows that weren't just at bars and clubs.
yeah.
You know, like community oriented stuff. We really always did that a lot. I mean, just
Yeah, you
2
play in
years
a
ago,
park or something like that, you know.
totally.
Acoustically
do
it'd be
like-
like coffee shop, you know, there's no alcohol
course.
there.
We used to do acoustic shows at a church. It was
yeah.
you know, and it was great because people bring their kids. Or, you know, Plattsburgh has a mayor's cup and stuff like that, and the city would hire us to do something like that, and it's great. And sure, there's probably people in the back drinking, but it's just not the main focus of what's going on. And also because of that, you know, that can, you know, I mean, I like to have a few beers. You know, a lot of us do every once in a while, but sometimes, again, when you're playing that often, every once in a while, you know, you're in a bar and you feel like your background noise. It's like, are these people listening to us? Because the song ends and all you hear is everybody talking.
Don't even get me started on that subject.
Yeah, it's like, you know, what are we doing here? And of course, it depends on where the show is.
The jukebox, you're the jukebox, you know?
Right, and maybe we're on the road and people don't know us, and we're hoping that they get to know us, but are they even giving us a chance to get to know us, you know? Because they're just there to get hammered. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine, but there's a lot of bars out there where there's not a band trying to perform art on stage, you know, that you can like, you can hear like specific conversations. I just want to like jump off the stage and like bitch slap somebody.
Here we go. Well, your band's too loud. Can you turn down the PA? And you're like, dude, I got a full drum set. You know what I mean? How am I going to turn down the drum set? And then how do you turn down the PA? Because then you can't hear the singer.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, people.
That happens all the time. The band's so loud.
People have no idea of what it's like to try to, because there's a lot. Most of the time, you know, we have people doing sound for us, and Derek Borst is our sound guy, who's one of the best, and he's pretty much a part of the band as far as all of us are concerned. And we're lucky to have him. But for a very long time, our saxophone player Jamie, because he's just got a really great ear. He would do it.
I read that you guys did a lot of sound and lights and stuff.
Right. And it's like, dude, he's on stage doing sound, and you know, when he wasn't playing, he'd run out and he'd listen and he'd come back. And I'll tell you, I don't think I've ever seen anybody that can do that as well as he did it. I mean, it's a freaking, not only is it a skill, it's an art.
Yeah.
But again, you're always people are gonna be coming up, and I love it because they think they're helping you, and you don't know who they are. So they're like giving you they're like looking at Jamie and
guitar's too loud.
Like, oh, turn this up, oh, turn this down, or like a little bit of this. And it's like, you know, if you trust them, it's a beautiful thing. But you know, just random like, you know, dude out there, like it's like, bro, please leave us alone.
The guy that comes up and goes, you see all these people here? Now, if you slow down a little bit, okay, that's what we're used to at this place, you know, and you play something like this, and he'll even do it, or grab your pick or something and then like strum your guitar, and you're like, dude, you are not sober.
Yeah, I hate that guy.
More times than ever.
Like, sorry, sir, are you the owner of this?
Those are the good pre-COVID stories we all have.
Yeah, like talking to somebody face to face. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that'll never happen online. I'll say all of the online gigs I do, that'll never happen.
Yeah, right, exactly.
True.
You can just mute them.
Well, I appreciate you coming on here. I'm glad we could talk, and you know, I knew some things, but I didn't know a lot about you guys. And I remember I did that show and stuff with you, and I was like, you know, maybe we'll have him on the show here. Who knows?
Yeah, Frank, I appreciate it.
Pete is a big fan.
Yeah, well, I've known Pete for a long time. He's been coming to like Backwoods Pond Fest for a wicked long time, and I
Yeah.
don't know how long I've known him for. He's a good man, and I mean, we got people, we got people all over, for sure, and we appreciate all of them and reaching out, and whatever they do, they appreciate what we do, and we can't do it without them. And I mean, here's to 2021. We got a couple of shows on the books for later in the season, and hopefully everything goes well. I mean, I want to play some music. I
Yeah.
want to see some friends, and we'll see how it goes.
So check out everybody their website. All right, Lucid. Is it lucid.com?
It's rulucid.com. It's not like the super most up to date thing, but I mean, we got links on there that can bring you places.
I know you guys got a YouTube. You got to release some songs. I've seen there too.
We do. If you're searching for Lucid, there's a lot of Lucids. So
yeah,
the way
there
to
is.
do it is to type in "Are you lucid?" The letters "Are you lucid?" and you're pretty much going to find it. If you're on YouTube and you type in "Are you lucid?" Spotify, "Are you lucid?"
Yeah.
Any of those online platforms.
That's the handle.
That's the easiest way. Yeah, for sure.
Sweet, man. Well, you have a good night, and cheers, folks. Okay, season 2. This is a wrap. You're my last guest for season 2.
Oh, word. Nice.
Yeah.
Very good.
So hopefully. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you to everybody that's watching.
I know, guys. Come back. Hopefully season 3. Let us know in the comments if you had any questions or anything. Feel free. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. All right. Let us know. All right. I appreciate it. See you guys. Keep rocking. Have a good summer.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like and subscribe to all of our pages, NewYorkStateMusic.com. Stream and support.